Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and the purpose of this video is just to talk about how can you take big functions and break them down into much more usable pieces. So I just want to create a bad, poorly, not I'm going to say poorly written, but the idea is that it's a function that's not really reusable. So here I have this array, and we're going to create a function that essentially maps over the array and returns the array with every number added 1. So first I'll write the function, so just watch what I'm doing. So const new array, and then we'll walk through what it's doing. Actually, I'll put comments as I do this. Create new array to be returned later. Then we want to loop over the existing array. Okay, so then we use a for loop. Let x equal 0. Long as x is less than the array.length. Okay. Dot length. And technically, actually, I should probably call that like r. Let's just call that r so that we don't run into any reserved word collisions. Okay. And then after each loop, x gets incremented. Or let's just be more proper about it and add 1 to x. Okay, so that'll add 1 to x after each loop. And then we have the contents of our loop. And then on each loop, what we're going to do is just do new array.push. And then we're going to push then we're going to push the array, anything that is in the current index x, and just add 1 to it. Okay, and then once that loop's over and it's built out the new array, we're going to return the new array. Okay, and there is my function. There's sort of 2 functions that I could break out of this, and then one sort of really bad sort of mistake as far as reusability. And this should be square brackets. Okay, so let's just test it out first. So console.log, and let's console.log bad func parentheses. So technically what this should do, it's node scratch.js, it should give us 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the function works. The problem is the function only works with this array, because I hard-coded that particular array into the function. So what if I wanted to do the same thing with another function? Okay. Also, a problem with using external information is that what if I wanted to use this function in a different file where this array doesn't exist? This array is going to fail. So the first optimization, okay, let's do better, is we want to make this not just work for one array, but something we can do to multiple arrays. Okay. So in this case, we'll do const better func. And the difference here is that instead of just using data from the outside, any data we want to use has to be passed in. So in this case, we want to pass in the array. Otherwise, we'll keep the function the same. It'll still do the same thing. So let me just copy and paste this all over. So this is better, not best. Okay. So now, instead of doing r here, we do the array. Okay, the array. The array. And this does the same thing, except now I can use it with any array I pass in. So if I do console.log better func, and then I pass in r, see, I get the same result. But now I could also do this. I could also do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And see, now I get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm not stuck just doing it in one array. But I can make this even better. Okay, technically you'll see like JavaScript's kind of already made this particular example for you, but just to see here what's really going on in this function, there's 2 things that are happening. I'm looping over the array and creating a new array, and then I'm doing an operation on the array, on each item in the array. how about I break up those two steps? The adding of one, okay. So let's create another example. Okay, so we'll call this almost best. Okay, still not quite where we want to be yet. So we're going to break this up into two functions. Const almost best part 1, which takes in the array. Okay. Which takes in the array, and let me think about this. Actually, we're going to change this to best, because technically the way I'm going to break this up into two functions, I want to make it kind of hop to the best. So const the best situation, we create a function called map. You might know this from your array map functions. But instead of map being a method of array, we're just creating a standalone map function. So this map function is going to take the array that we're going to work on, the array, and it's going to take a callback. Okay, and basically what it's going to do, it's going to basically do the same thing as before. Except now, see this part right here? We're just going to make this a function. We're just going to say we're going to call back, and we're going to take whatever function you pass in, and say pass in the array X. So you get that item in the array. And essentially we have now recreated the map function. Okay, so I could still, now I've broken that logic up into two. So I can do console.log map, I pass in R, and then I pass in a function. So we'll say return X equals X plus 1. So we pass in that function. That should still give me the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, wait, let me think about that. The array is not defined. Oh, I see. Okay, let's try that again. So I still get the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I'm not stuck with that one utility. Not only can I change which array I'm using this function on, but I can also change what we do during the loop. That's essentially what map does. It's just returning the value of a function that it's running right here. Okay, this callback function. So we're breaking this up into multiple pieces that when these functions work in tandem creates sort of a process. So I'm creating a much more usable function. So now I can create a function. I can then now use this map function on a different array. So I'll just use it on a different array. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then instead of adding 1, we can say x plus 2, add 2 to each item. And see, I get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now what array this map function works on and what it does to that array, it can be different every time I use it. It's a much more reusable function. And it's not accessing any data from the outside. So I don't have to worry about whether certain variables are defined in the file. This is a good function should have never refer to anything on the outside. Anything it needs from the outside should be passed in as an argument. That makes it more reusable. You can then just literally just paste that function from project to project and reuse it. And when you can, if this function starts getting too big and doing too much, you just pull out certain aspects and turn them into other functions. In this case, we passed it as a function that's passed in. But I mean, you could also break it up into a sequence of functions. Okay, so I could, let's say I wanted to add 2, then add 3. I could do this. Okay, const add 1 equals, x plus 1. Then and then if I wanted to add 1 and then add 3, then I create a function called add 3 equals x x plus 3. And then, but what I want to do is always add 1, then add 3. I can then use those two functions and const add 1, then 3. And then this one would just be like x. Okay, and then we do something like const y equals add 1x, and then const z equals add 3 y, and then we return y. But the cool thing about this is that this function does what I wanted it to do, but now these functions have those independent pieces that I can then use in other places. So anytime I need to add 1, I can still add 1, but I'm able to use the combo of those functions and another function for when I need that combo. So again, I'm creating more reusable pieces. I'm more likely to reuse add 1 than I am to use add 1 then 3. So I still have add 1 then 3, but instead of putting that logic directly in here, like this piece and this piece, I put in these two functions that I may reuse and then built out a much better function. Okay, so let's try it out. Add 1, then 3. 5, and I want to console log that. That's not a variable. Console.log. Add 1, then 3. There we go. And now if I run this code, I should at the very end add 1, which should be 6, then add 3 should be 9. So I should have a 9 at the very end. It did not. Let's examine why. Oh, because I returned y, not z. So let's fix that. 9. And see, by writing it step by step, like I could have just made this one big expression. I could have just, done functions inside functions. But writing it line by line like this, while a little more verbose, was a little bit easier for me to find the error. Because I could take a look at what am I returning. I see that I wasn't returning what I thought I should be returning. I'm returning y, making it sort of very clear how I had to fix it. So there's a lot of things to think about when you're writing a function, not just, okay, does it do what I want it to do? Yes. But can I make it reusable? Can I make it easy to read? Can I make it easy to debug? These are all things to consider when you're writing functions. So again, some things to take away again. Don't be afraid to break functions up into multiple functions. 2, avoid referring to data from outside of the function. If the data can just be passed in as an argument to the function. That way the function is more modular and more reusable. So have a great day. Enjoy. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy. And this is a JavaScript, but generally these principles apply to any programming language as far as writing quality functions. So I'll see you later on. Have a good one. Ciao.